So I was gonna make a post about this as far as like write it, but I feel like it wouldn't come out exactly the way I wanted it. So what I wanted to talk about was self-image and how we view ourselves, right? I mean, the definition of the word. And with that said, just kind of my perspective. So I am the walking definition of short man syndrome, right? I am 5'5". I am not a skyscraper by any means of the imagination. And, you know, with that, my childhood was pretty difficult growing up. It was difficult because I was bullied. I was abnormally shorter than everybody. Never really got a growth spurt. And in turn, I turned to food in order to deal with that, right? So I would eat my feelings away when I was younger. My parents had to take me out of school in 8th grade because I was being beat up so much by the other kids, and the school district wouldn't protect me. Okay, so that fucks with a kid, right? Then years later, I develop eating disorder. So I go through anorexia because, like, I went out for sports. Long story short, I went out for sports, and even though I wanted to quit, I didn't. And I started realizing that the more I stuck to it, the better I felt, right? I could breathe a little bit more on the runs. It was baseball freshman year of high school. But I was 5 foot, 200 pounds. I wore size 40 in men's. I was a very, very large child. Anyway, so I stuck with that. And in doing so, I got addicted to the feeling of improving, right? So, the more I continued to push myself, the better I felt. And I was like, man, this is awesome. But the difference was also people treated me differently, and kids treated me different, and I liked that feeling. I liked the feeling of, girls paid attention to me, like, oh, this isn't some like little fat kid or whatever. And so I thought losing more and more weight was the answer, right? So I stopped eating in general, just completely stopped eating. And I ended up all the way down to, in 1 year, I lost about 70 pounds, and I went down to size 28 in men's. And to summarize that, I got out of that, but that always fucked with me. Because, like, I was never able to defend myself as a young kid, as a teenager. I was always just smaller. And so I got into weightlifting and training. And it really became this philosophy of, I'm going to be the biggest, baddest motherfucker, because I don't want people to be able to have that on me. Right. And it carried into my adult life. It's always difficult to remove that. So the point that I'm getting at, though, is, now I don't have like the bully, right? I don't have, the kid picking on me because I still get picked on because I'm short, but, the difference is now I know I can kick their ass. So, but what I really want to get at, though, is to this day, I still have body image issues, and people will see someone who looks like me and, kind of write me off and write off that concept of, like, why do you have body image issues? You look like this. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. I understand that. And I understand how I look. But it's still something that I will always struggle with. And what I've come to terms with, though, is having to love myself and love myself where I'm currently at. And I think that's something that we all struggle with. And, we have to know, where's that balance? I was chasing this dream of professionalism in, the sport of functional fitness and CrossFit. And in doing so, I ended up hurting myself. I didn't do it properly. I wasn't, my nutrition still sucked. I wasn't taking care of myself, and it was still this concept of like I had something to prove to other people. And it took a long time to get rid of that mindset. And it really took my injuries, and dealing with, that childhood side of depression and suicidal thoughts and stuff. And, once I dealt with all that, it allowed me to grow as an individual and realize that, even though I still struggle to this day, I still have to love myself, and I have to love myself currently where I'm at, because that's all you can do. And if you're unhappy with where you're at, then focus on the process getting to where you want to be. We get so caught up in that end goal, and, I don't look this way and I want to lose, 9 pounds. Well, what does that 9 pounds really entail? What does that journey look like? When you lose that 9 pounds, that's one moment of your life, and that's one segment. But, how long did it take you to get there? So are you just going to be miserable that entire time until you reach that 9 pounds? Or are you going to enjoy that process and still love yourself every day while you're on that journey? And that's what I want to encourage people. So it's like, I may joke around and say, like, I'm going to have a bowl of ice cream, or, sit down and eat Doritos. Yeah, I'm going to. But, I also do have a healthy balance of, proper nutrition and taking care of myself that's not the fun side or whatever, and people don't really want to see that or hear that. And so, people focus on this lens of Instagram and social media and what we do in the gym, and like, oh man, that person's lifting this much. Well, you got to think of the journey that it took to get to that point. And, oh, that person looks this way. Okay, the journey. And, then there's two types of people. Did they love that journey, right? Or are they fucking miserable every single day in order to look like that and feel like that and be like that? Because that's not the person I want to be, and that's not the person that, I want to be a image for others, And so I just want to encourage you that if you're struggling and you're having a tough time where you don't know, where you want to be at and how to get there, the number one thing is to start loving yourself, and the number one thing is to start valuing, where you're currently at, and don't be afraid to make that big change, and that, to push yourself towards that goal, but enjoy that journey. So, I just wanted to leave you guys with that. It was kind of on my mind, so hope that helps somebody, because sometimes even just talking it out helps me, even when I'm having a difficult day. So have a good night.